And we're live today on the Metal Lab. It's 9:30, and here we are at our new starting time. So let's say hello to myself, Jason, and we have provincial ROC, Ontario provincial ROC champion, Mike Payne. See, now I've become as insufferable as I thought you would be.
You're pretty terrible. Hello, everybody.
Let's not forget that Married with Clicks is brought to you in part by HC Realms. If you happen to jump into their shop and are interested in buying some t-shirts or maps from the recent ROC events, use the coupon code MARRIED and you get a 10% discount on your purchase, and that will also help support the channel. And that said, let's go into our weekend news, which is mostly previews and a little bit of talk about an ROC that happened, some trickling information, and we do have the top two teams from that event. But we'll start with the previews first. So I'm going to set this all up, all proper. Let me get this. Here we go. And we're going to start with the oldest one first. We're going to go in chronological order. So since we last saw you last week, where did everything go?
It's up.
It's up? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Blue Marvel is here.
I've lost my window. There it is. Okay, so we had the Blue Marvel. Now, I guess we can talk more at length with these characters because there's not a whole lot going on. He's got improved targeting, ignores hindering. This Mighty Avengers trait increased Blue Marvel's defense value by 1 for each other friendly character within 4 squares that can use this trait. And then he comes in at 230 points with the Power Cosmic, Flight, and a special defense power that he gets mid and late dial. He can use regeneration and toughness, and adjacent friendly characters can use regeneration. A spattering of hypersonic and super strength, some precision strike around the board, outwit, perplex. Yeah, what you see is what you get after the traits and everything. Avengers and scientist keyword. Mike, what do you think of this character as a whole?
Virtually unplayable trait as far as we've seen so far. For Wave 2, we have not seen anybody else with that Mighty Avengers trait. He is 230 points, which is really, really, really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the hypersonic with the super strength together, just because it's cool. But I figure for 230 points, he would be quite a bit better. I mean, his defense is pretty low unless you're using that trait. For someone that is his power level, I do like the fact that he shares his regeneration with other people, adjacent characters, adjacent friendly characters, I should say.
Yep.
And I don't know, man. Like it's not worth using unless they reveal more characters with that trait. I love stealth busting. Yay! And he's cosmic. Cool. Can't be countered. Woo. If I pulled him in sealed, it would really depend on what I got, but probably not.
Yeah, I was going to say, my packs would have to be pretty unimpressive, or we'd have to find out that we have a Mighty Avenger who could be played with him in a sealed game at 300 points, who could make that defense power work, or even 2 of them, for that matter.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, though, yeah, he's very difficult to play. This is a rare character in the fact that it seems to be actually balanced for a much bigger game. More for a friendly game, because at 230 points with an ability like his trait and his special defense power, that requires a team being there. And the standard 300-point competitive game doesn't really fit a team when 230 points of your team is a single figure. And regeneration is not going to do much on pogs or one-click characters.
Yeah.
So it's a strange.
Or drones, for that matter.
Yeah. Yeah. And this falls under the strange character for me for as far as what they were building or what they were going for. And if his range was a little higher, he'd probably be a little bit more impressive. Like a 6 range with hypersonic, it comes down to a 3. If he had like an 8 range, believe it or not, I think a 4 does make more of a difference than a 3 does as far as being able to position and target.
Yeah, I agree.
But that said, I've pulled some pretty bad packs before, and that would probably force me to play this guy.
Yeah, in Wave 1, some of my pulls were less than desirable. Big disparity in power. So my last sealed, I pulled. We played a 3-pack sealed, So we paid a 500 point at that level, and I struck gold. So I got Ultron 7, Black Panther, along with Monica Chang, Alexis, and what was the last piece of that puzzle? Oh yeah, She-Hulk. So wow. Pretty ridiculously powerful in that particular composition, but I know there were other people who didn't get in it. You know, like they got a whole bunch of, 10 attacks, 17 defense characters that don't do necessarily a whole lot against something that shuts down Perplex, excuse me, Perplex, Probability Control, and Outwit when they're next to you. Yeah.
I don't know if I talked about my wave 2, but at any sort of length yet. But I can say, as far as pulls go, my pulls have been okay. I've been able to build pretty solid teams, but I've been playing against teams that are doing better than mine. In month 2, first round I had to play against another one of those Phalanx Ultrons. Oh yeah, no, I've talked about this. And then round 3, I got beat by a Yellow Jacket who rolled 9 out of 11 shape changes and had 19 defensive defense. By the time I got past the shape changes, it was it was insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, overall, Blue Marvel is probably the least impressive so far from Wave 2 that we've seen.
You mean from month 2? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that is Wave 2. Yes.
Yes.
You said Wave 2 when you meant month 2 when you were talking about your game. But yeah, agreed entirely.
Yeah. Now that said, we move to lower point characters, and the next one is actually pretty decent. We have the White Tiger. Now, as far as the dial is concerned, what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
That's a mixture of close combat, expert, charge, super senses, some toughness. No, sorry, that's combat reflexes. That's my screen doing that to me. Some sidesteps and precision strike across board. At 60 points, she's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 clicks is pretty good at 60 points nowadays. And this trait, when White Tiger is the target of an attack, she can use probability control. So that's a pretty decent trait if the ranges are working with you. And at 60 points, she's not a pain in the butt to put into a team. She's actually pretty decent.
Not for 11 and 4 or 12 and 3.
Yeah.
I mean, 60 points, it's pretty amazing. That trait's pretty juicy too. I mean, yeah, 60 points, she's really worth using, I think.
Yeah.
Good with a common.
Yeah, that's the thing. The common slot seems to be picking up in Wave 2 as far as the strength goes. And that's important in sealed. Strong commons make for good sealed play because you can count on commons more than you can count on anything else in sealed play, and that's in any sealed game. Count on your commons and then go from there. Sometimes a good sealed set will have really good uncommon, like War of Light did with Sodomyat and Weapon of Court. Anything else you want to say about White Tiger, or is just good?
She's really good. I was pretty excited to see her. I mean, you can't really get much more for 60 points, really. Like even outside of sealed, it's still pretty good.
And I gotta say, this is the best collection of keywords ever created. Animal, which is really relevant nowadays. It's a shame that we lost Alyosha Craven. That made them really overpowered, but Animal's still good, and it's still a good collection of characters.
Very good, yeah.
Avengers, which when all else fails and you need a named theme team, you can build a team with Avengers and have exactly what build you want.
Yeah.
Martial Artist, which is very common and has a lot of really strong characters in it. And, of course, Mystical, which is probably one of the most potent generic keywords that's out there next to, ahead of science. Scientist, right. Don't say anything. And I'd put Soldier in a close third as far as potency. But Soldier's a weird one that has its ups and downs, and I think right now it's on one of its downs.
Well, we're about to see a Soldier.
We are about to see a Soldier. A classic Soldier, the ultimate Soldier, the super Soldier, if you will.
Oh, look at the triangular shield on that guy.
Captain America coming in at an uncommon, which is still pretty good. The PD team ability of all things, which is really neat, comes at a bargain of 65 points, so only 5 points more than the character we were just looking at. And this is a support character of the century, if you ask me. His trait, really adjacent friendly characters modify their defense value by +1 against ranged combat attacks if not already modified by this effect. They're already planning for people to use multiples of this guy, I guess, at 65 points.
Yeah.
Now, this special movement power is really cool. Captain America can use Defend, and he has a transporter foot speed. and he doesn't modify his attack value by -2 from the move and attack. It is a Captain America with hypersonic light.
Yeah, pretty much.
that
6 range isn't bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the important parts about that before anybody loses his mind. Yes, I do understand that it's hypersonic so long as he doesn't start adjacent to somebody. That's okay. But in a nutshell, this is a character you want beside your team. I'll let you talk about it if you want.
I like the second click too. I mean, you've got range combat expert out there as well. Once you're able to achieve high numbers for a really, really inexpensive character. The outwit's always nice. I do love my outwit. Beyond that, I mean, I see a lot of possibilities in terms of ID card use as well with him, because he's nice and cheap, and he can take the guy that brings him in with him wherever he goes as an option.
You gotta be careful with that though, because that takes the character off of a square, and even though they're not on the map.
Yeah.
But that said, he comes in with the PD team ability. Now, the inspiration on the Captain America card, which we've seen, when the character is adjacent to him hit with an attack, you add an action total to your action pool, which kind of mitigates the fact that he came on the board, or that action that it took to take him on the board. Now, he's got the PD team ability to make that attack easier to hit. He's got Outwit to make it do damage if you should so desire, or to outwit some energy shield if that's a problem too. And he comes in with his own 6 range to do a little bit of shooting himself as far as bring him on the board, right? Mm-hmm. And then, of course, if it's dicey and the defenses are low right now, he adds his 17 defense on that first click, and he adds +1 on top of that. So effectively, at range, the character that he's next to has an 18 range.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a minor ESD he's giving everybody.
Yeah. So for 65 points, I can't see a reason not to play him.
Yeah.
He's really good, really great support character, and really great for the ID card once it comes out, which I believe is next month.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Nope, Amber's got headphones on. She can't hear me. My fact checker is not available.
I think you are correct, sir.
Yes. We're gonna say I am, and then if I'm wrong, if not, and you know what, late dial enhancement. If you have to be playing this guy,
yeah,
enhancement is the easiest power to get +1 damage on an attack. So yeah, that's all the previews we have. But we do have an interesting story that came in from Tennessee, and we popped this. I popped this off of the HC Realms posting from the ROC section in the forums. So this is not officially official, but it is from Terminator, who those you know, or some of you may know, I believe his name is Terry Turman, the man who actually runs HC Realms, and he posted a comment here. The winner was a Skullship and Riddler with an Indigo battery, and second place, Terry himself, played Yondu with Parallax, Mantis, Major Victory, Blind Owl, and a full power plant with a Triathlon ID card. Both of those teams are unexpected, to say the least. What do you think of the Skullship with Riddler?
I think it's pretty awesome. It's really cool that a Skullship is doing as well as it is. I've always wanted to see it place well outside of Sharif's Batcave shenanigans at our nationals. The whole idea of just sticking the Riddler in the background just to perplex, I think, is really good, because the best body block in the game would probably be the Skullship. So with that said, I mean, it does have pretty good damage output as well, and I can't see. I don't know why that hasn't been played before, really. I mean, both tech has been around for a little while.
Yeah. I think when it comes down to it, it's a matter of having the Skullship, because even though the Skullship was readily available at the cons, not a lot of people bought it because it was a little bit more expensive than, say, the Supreme Intelligence. In the U.S., I believe it cost $70, and at Canadian Nationals, it cost $90 Canadian, which is $70 U.S. once you do the exchange rate and everything like that.
I think you could have ordered it online this past week during San Diego Comic-Con. Because the WizKids booth either ran out or didn't bring some of the Connex stuff with them, so they made it readily available online. I'm not sure whether that was one of the figures. I know that Faust was available, and Supreme Intelligence was also available to order. Unfortunately, the drop down didn't allow you to put in Canada as a location anywhere in Canada, but I'm sure that people at borders can make it work. So that was something that happened over the last week.
Yeah. Amber takes offense to us ignoring the fact that she got top 16 with the Skull Ship at Canadian Nationals, and she got top 8 at our local, that the Wizards Cash win amount.
Yeah, she did. Yep, absolutely.
And she did it with the Sinestro battery and Harley Quinn.
Yeah, and I still ate it.
But that said, yeah, it's a deep dial, and the Riddler. What I noticed is, because he's using the Indigo battery on this team, he gets to keep his 9 range distance with the Skull Ship versus other teams, and the other teams are limited to only 4 range against the Skull Ship. Now the Riddler stays in the starting area because he's just gonna be perplexing down defenses all day, every day, right? Unless I don't know if he carried him with him or not. Maybe just had him behind him. Worst case scenario.
Yeah, probably hug his ass with it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you have to do. You've got a lot of actions available to you with that team.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then, of course, we had Terry's team, as I described. We've seen similar builds. Yondu with Parallax, Mantis, Major Victory, Blind Owl, Full Power Plant, and Triathlon. Now, the Power Plant, I think a lot of us have said it, is probably the best resource on a team with a high range. Yondu has, of course, the ultimate range at whatever I want to look at, or whatever's on the board.
Yeah, well, his ability to be unhindered. Yeah.
And then you got Mantis here to be able to mind control Major Victory, I believe, is how that's going to work as a free action. Also has probability control on top of her. And then, so Major Victory can TK Yondu into a position, or TK Yondu out of a bad position and then running shot and be in the way.
Yeah.
Major Victory for 95 points is a bargain.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Blind Owl is, well, you know what? Blind Owl starting area perplex, right?
You know who Major Victory makes me think of is the new symbiote suit Spider-Man, because they both have that, if you're targeted by certain things, it extra hurts you.
Yes.
But both competitive figures actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And one of the things I like about Major Victory is his output. He starts with like 11 attacks, Psychic Blast, Running Shot, and 4 damage for 95 points. That's shocking.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. No, it's huge.
Mm-hmm. So we got a bit of a metagame in one of the few tournaments we've seen, major tournaments we've seen, after the cuts have been made. So I don't have a full picture of the top 8, and I'm hoping to get that soon. But as far as the game is concerned, Mike, do you think there's going to be much in the way of changes? Do you think there's some teams that are just gone because of certain figures are gone, or what do you think?
Nothing is really completely bad. I mean, the animal team, the animal team is still going to be there, but it's not nearly as powerful as it was because of Alyosha Craven,
right?
As you mentioned earlier. I think that the Gloop team has changed. We've been playing against a modified Gloop team up here anyway, so we know that it's still good. We know that it still works really, really well. So I don't think that that's gone completely. Just thinking of like common teams that are out there right now. Anything with that Loki. Loki's been such a great little piece to throw in there. The one that's riding the back of that weird demon thing.
Oh yeah. Now we've lost that. It's a shame.
Yeah, because that's a very, very good piece to have on your teams in general. Just filler stuff. I think a lot of filler is gone, but also we still have tons of it anyway. Yeah. And with I think that we'll see with some of the Age of Ultron figures, because they're not necessarily leading figures, not necessarily super punishing figures, we may actually see some of them intermingled. Same with AVA. Intermingled into some of these older looking teams, just supplementing them at this point. It'll be interesting to see at Rocktober what happens, at our qualifier in the next couple months what happens. But I don't think that the cuts affected it too terribly, too tremendously overall. I honestly think that we still have that crazy, very, very versatile metagame that's out there right now.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to see some more really cool crushing things come in the next couple sets. I mean, we've got, what is it, August 7th, I think? Or am I correct on the date with that? That's for Nick Fury?
August 5th, I think, was the tentative date. What's the Wednesday of that week? That's the best way to look.
It's the Tuesday, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, no, you're right. It is the Wednesday. Yeah. The 5th. Okay, so we've got that set coming up. And I would imagine that we're going to see a little bit more power than we have seen in the first half of the Age of Ultron set, but we've already seen, and they're demonstrating that they're willing to go more powerful for the second half of the Age of Ultron set as well. I'm just really hoping going forward over the next few months that we're going to see more Marvel power, because it does tend, and we've talked about this before, it does tend to be a DC power kind of metagame in many respects, at least in my limited experience, right? Keeping in mind that I've only been playing for about a year and a half.
Yeah. You haven't seen the flip-flop.
No, I haven't seen the flip-flop yet. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Had a good experience this weekend in Ottawa. Ended up playing at the comic shop on Bank Street there with some of our friends from Nationals, Steve and Asia and Eric, and met some new people as well, and Justin. Met some new people there as well. So it's just a very casual summertime themed tournament. But always good to get out there and just see who's playing what anyway. Even though it was Golden Age, it's almost always still very modern stuff, and just to see different pieces used in different ways that we normally wouldn't see, because the meta can be very punishing, and a lot of people are afraid to use certain pieces. But Reptile is amazing. What a meat shield and a half! Holy crap! Like, getting past that was really, really difficult. I got a chance to use the new Agent Venom, unaffected by an entity or anything like that, and I've seen what he can do, and he's great at basing people and doing a range combat attack against two that are right next to him. I love that. It's so good. She-Hulk, still very good. Really, really stands up well against a lot of different things, but I managed to get my hands on one of those Spider-Men that I was telling you about before, the symbiote suit, and can't wait to throw him into the mix and make a nice balanced team with him.
Yeah, myself, I took a weekend off because I had the twins both with me at home, and Amber was out on a camping trip, so I didn't get much game time in. I tried a game with the boys, and they threw the Heroclix at my face. They have this neat thing. They have this neat thing where they'll throw something and yell catch, and that makes it okay.
So after they've thrown it, right?
Bam!
After, though.
Yeah,
you throw
exactly.
It, they catch. Yeah.
But as far as the shifting metagame, there's a couple teams I've seen that scare me altogether. Nasty, like the Wolvesbane team that's out and about using the red battery and that incredibly difficult to kill Wolvesbane from the OP kit.
Yeah.
She's a pain in the keister. And I don't want to be up against that, because unfortunately it's one of those few situations where you can't turn around and go, I can just pulse wave. You can't. No. Because that damage thing can't be ignored, if I remember correctly. So that's obnoxious as heck. And it's just going to sit there and not die and deal a bunch of penetrating poison damage to you. So unless you have a ton of invincible down your dial, then it's just going to start attacking. And some of those wild dials they have really high attack. So I think we're going to see more and more of that just Wolvesbane team unless somebody decides that it needs to become a unique. And we also got to see what happens after the watch list is addressed, because if they just make the D20 not rerollable on Felix Faust, then we're going to see him still. He's still going to be out there because he's still got a 50-50 chance of doing something that's going to be a pain in your ass. Like, yeah. That's one of the things. Both Doctor Strange and Felix Faust have this D20 that does things to the opposing team, and none of them are necessarily bad except for the blank. So this is a 19 out of 20 dice rolls that's just amazing still. And it's going to be a thing that Felix Faust is when he comes back to ROC play, he's going to be out there in regular play. And my understanding is that I'm to expect him to appear at the month 6 Yu-Gi-Oh event I'm going to this weekend. Which, I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh is already hard enough to deal with. There's so many mechanics in the Yu-Gi-Oh figures that, and yeah, I think we're done talking about the metagame for a quick second here. There's things that, like, you'll start with a 300-point team, and all of a sudden you have a 500-point team, and this is like beyond team-based mechanics. It's full dial 180-point figures just kind of show up out of nowhere, and it's like, okay, I've got that to deal with. And the resource makes a 50-point character who has charge, exploit, weakness, and running shot, and psychic blast.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So it's an environment that is scary to play in already, and then some people are going to be playing pretty hard in this tournament. So yeah, I'm super glad I'm not even close to the running for that Slifer the Dragon figure, because I'd be weeping at what I'm up against, and it's not gonna be pretty.
Well, the figure isn't really that good. Like,
yeah, and it's not even that big either. That was a weird thing.
No, I thought it'd be colossal, right?
Like, yeah, it's a colossal, but we were expecting, like, I don't know, at least this size of colossal.
Yeah, I mean like a real colossal, the colossal. I was hoping for that, but you guys would at least see that. Yeah,
we got a single base colossal out.
I think the best thing you're going to get out of that whole thing, and you probably already have it, is Exodia.
Exodia wasn't part of Battle of Millennium. It was just a regular OP kit linked to the Series 3 release.
Oh, really?
And apparently they had the tournament and gave them away at my store, so I didn't get a chance to play for it. Surprise, surprise. So I was very upset when I discovered that, because I really wanted Exodia of all the figures, and that's the one I didn't get a chance to play for. Swinging back to the actual metagame, not a great deal changes. The animal team takes a hit, and it's probably still playable. You're probably just going to see more Wolfsbane-based ones, which is scary thought now that I'm actually thinking about it, because some combinations are using Wolfsbane with the Rocket Raccoon and the Blue Battery, just making it that much more difficult to kill, and then relying on as many attack rolls as they could possibly throw at you.
A lot of missing.
Yeah,
a lot of missing, but still, you just can't kill them.
Yeah, they're there. Deal with it. Oh, excuse me, my just condensation from the water and whatnot. My camera was shaking. But yeah, and the metagame is not shifting very much, except for the Book of Skulls not being there anymore. So, and I'm really hoping that my efforts with the round table work out. I know I've been talking to Kenny a lot about it, and I'm probably going to copycat his team for a little while, until I come across something that is exponentially better, or just another way to do it.
It's really about finding those gems, right? The right ID cards for the moment.
Yes.
Yeah. The inspirations, I imagine, are the make or break for the actual composition of the resource.
Yep. And I can tell you, Captain America stands out as a big one, especially on a swarm team. If you can get some flurry going and some hits off, holy smokes.
Yeah.
The Hulk, the Iron Man, wow, all the ones you get for free. How about that? Even the Thor is looking really interesting. The four that's away. Beyond that, of course, Triathlon is always a good offensive choice. Hellcat is starting to look really good on close combat teams with the +2 attack in close combat.
Right.
And then bringing out Hellcat to fight against, I don't know, Shape Change. And punishing your opponent if they decide to try to go for kill on her.
Yeah, the Triathlon works the same way against Shape Change as well, because you can bring out 3D Man if you really need to.
Oh, yeah, he doesn't let you Shape Change. That's right.
No, yeah.
Yeah. And both of them are good options when it comes down to it. And yeah. The round table, it's going to come down to whether or not you can pick the right inspirations, like you said, and then rolling them. I mean, you got to make it so that it doesn't matter what you roll is really ultimately the goal.
Yeah.
Which is, it's tricky, but it can be done. And it's important to note that it's not going to get disintegration beamed. It's not going to, well, M10 Iron Man isn't an issue anymore.
No.
And neither is the Catwoman who did things to relics and resources. None of the Catwomen are around.
Well, I mean, you do have Firestorm. He can really screw up.
Firestorm's not going to touch it anyway, though, because you don't assign it.
That's true. Yeah, there you go.
Yep. So it stands, and I've seen Firestorm played, but he lacks a certain number of things that the M10 Iron Man didn't lack.
Yeah. I fought him at Provincials, actually. Patrick Chow was playing him, and Yeah, he does lack some things that some of the things that you need.
Yeah. Like, for instance, the Impervious worked in conjunction with the power on Iron Man. So that stood out as like you get 2 rollouts basically on that figure. And yeah, he will be missed as that counter meta piece for sure.
Well, it's funny, we hadn't really seen him played much until Tom brought him out, right?
Yeah.
During that Winamap a little while ago, and wrecked me with it.
Well, I personally have seen the figure plenty because last year I was practicing with Patrick Chow and he was using it, the full pointed version nonetheless, on his team with a Grasshopper, which when I played against him, I guess what I ended up doing was just repeatedly kill Grasshopper and incapacitate the M10 Iron Man while outwitting the Indomitable. It was really my only option.
Right.
But that was the most clever thing I came up with to deal with it. And then, just repeatedly killing the Grasshopper until it was just that this is how I'm going to win.
It's funny thinking about the meta. Howard Brock was telling me that he played against a Highfather with Grasshopper team, and it was Highfather, Grasshoppers, or Red Battery.
Yep.
And just having that, you can't do anything. Your major guy can't do anything, and I'm going to surround him with a few Grasshoppers and just take him down 3 clicks at a time using penetrating poison.
Now,
that's really annoying.
One of the things I gotta think about is how many people are going back in time to when the batteries are first released and are gonna start using my words against me, where I was like, I don't know about the red battery if it's gonna be that great. I definitely said the blue battery was crap.
Yeah.
There's like very few teams that make effective use of the blue battery.
Very few.
But the red battery, I'm pretty sure, don't necessarily quote me on this, but I'm always convinced I said Swarm teams will work with the red battery, and I'm not yet to be wrong. Swarm and not dying teams seem to be the choice of the red battery.
Yeah. Anything that can keep going and prevent you from killing it right away.
Yeah, absolutely. So question then becomes, are people going to be bringing back Lydia Mallard to get rid of that ring? Because
I think she's going to be back in general more than we've seen her in the last little while. I mean, we saw that Zombie Super Skrull, Lydia Mallard, Orange Battery team, which was really good, actually. I don't think we saw enough of it, really, but it takes a certain finesse to really pull it off properly. And you have to win that initiative roll, although you do get +3 because, it's monster. It's a monster.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we are going to see probably that team come more, but it'd be interesting to see what other Lydia Mallard comps will actually happen.
And I've seen some Lydia Mallard comps that were different, to say the least, such as builds that included Arcade or She-Hulk. So, when you put Arcade there, you give up the first turn, which means the player using Arcade is going to say, okay, well, here's the Arcade map. Now you've got a big problem. And that problem is Arcade. Or they say, no, I'm going to go I'm going to go first. Okay, I'm taking your ring. Right? Which then begs the question, is that strategy worth it? Right? It's a double-edged sword of what am I going to have to deal with?
Right.
So I think this is just a consideration I've started taking into account with Lydia. And it's also why I've always been tentative about the batteries. It's one of the things that's like I've used the red battery in tournaments where I had a good solid idea that I was A, not going to play against Lydia Mallard, or B, not going to have to deal or worry about Lydia Mallard dice rolls. Like for instance, when I used my red battery animal team, I had a +4 to my dice roll. So I wasn't too concerned about losing dice rolls to Lydia Mallard. Even with the Arcade combo, it was like, okay, well, break Arcade out. I'm going to be in your face in a couple seconds. Like turn 2, you have me to deal with it, right?
Yeah, I was dealing with it because by just being able to function without my ring, without the whole shutdown aspect of things. Because
I think the ring, for the most part,
do a crazy swing with Pulse Wave.
Exactly.
Yeah,
because that's one of the strengths your team had, was that the big Pulse Wave hit.
Yeah,
was really, really super effective from that team. And the emotional spectrum was just it was ultimately a cherry / sprinkles on top of an already delicious ice cream cake.
The emotional spectrum really helped me deal with Phantom X and a couple other teams outside of Lydia Mallory, though. You know, that beyond it being a sprinkle on top for certain opposing teams, like versus Trevor's team, which was Lydia Mallory Animal Team, right? He had no bonus to his initiative, but he still managed to get the roll both times off of me and take the ring. The ability to take, if I'd won the emotional spectrum ability, I would have just shut down his ability to actually move across the map. You know, no shutting down improved movement is the most delicious thing imaginable in this game, and it's so frustrating for anybody who has to play against it.
Yeah, I think this is why we're going to see an end to the can use clause as far as picking a power. And
yeah.
When the watch list comes back, it's probably going to be just a possessed power or an ability, which is it does make a massive difference when you think about the fact that flight gives you a can use improved targeting or improved movement versus possesses it. Therefore, now you can still stop flight, but that doesn't stop all improved movement, right?
No, exactly. So it only affects the flyers in that particular case, and doesn't mean that it shuts down phasing on top of it, and shuts down.
Doesn't touch carry.
No, doesn't touch carry at all.
So, yeah, it's going to be the thing that really can hurt that. And we've made our predictions, I think, already on this. So,
oh yeah, we went through this with Tom like a few episodes ago. Yeah,
I do remember that. So I guess that's all we got for this week. It's a pretty short week as far as news.
Yeah.
Hopefully more to talk about next week. Probably going to be previews, my beating that I took this weekend, and what's going to be the most insane Yu-Gi-Oh meta ever. Actually, you know what? While I'm taking a second, what do you think? Do you think they're going to do something like they did with Yu-Gi-Oh's Battle of the Millennium for the Ninja Turtles? It's a hope of mine. I have dreams of a Technodrome for a final prize, and
I'm not that aware of the Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. What have they done exactly for the Battle for the Millennium? Is it just like an OP tournament?
Yeah, it's going back in time. It's more similar in a way to the Infinity Gauntlet events, where you would play in a series of tournaments that weren't sealed, didn't have a set specific for it, and then each month had a different prize. And then you'd still be gaining event points. So basically everything functioning the same way as Age of Ultron, except it's constructed versus sealed.
Right, right. I like that. I like that format, the idea of it anyway. I think that'd be fantastic for TMNT. Yeah. I think it would be a mistake if they made TMNT pure OP. I think that they need to open it up so anybody can buy it at any given time, because there's a whole bunch of fanboys who are just going to want to have it.
We can relax on that because it's already confirmed that it's a countertop display set like the Yu-Gi-Oh one with multiple sets like the Yu-Gi-Oh one. I'm just wondering if they're gonna go to the lengths that they did with Yu-Gi-Oh. I would personally play in a TMNT event, because that would be that I would love to play these figures, and I would almost stress on my store to make it exclusively TMNT for these events, because
I've already spoken to George at the Wizard's Cache about it, and so we definitely will be doing some kind of TMNT something, whatever happens, because he's a huge fan as well. And we'll make it happen.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be Street Fighter version 2.0 as far as the martial artist keyword is concerned. There's going to be a lot of martial artists, lots of robots.
I wish they could make it modern, though. Because then I can have some Ninja Turtles that are possessed by Adara or whomever. It'd be cool. No, they won't do it, though. Those bastards.
Play with the Ninja Turtles for a little bit, at least. Come on.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I want my Bebop and Rocksteady.
Yeah. It's funny. Nobody has tried to pull entity shenanigans in our Yu-Gi-Oh events, but that's okay, because a good majority of the players playing in these events are actually more Yu-Gi-Oh based players, whereas a couple of us are more Heroclix fans. So now one or two of them are still playing comic book characters, and one of the Yu-Gi-Oh fans happened to pull a King Thor in one of his packs from Avengers Assemble. Very upset that I've had to play against that now. I'm so tempted to just bring a Banshee.
Oh man.
mystical rules and when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! As far as combining things.
Yeah.
So
I imagined it would.
Yeah. I guess we'll shift over to questions now, or input from the audience, if you will, this week. Starting with Facebook, and then if you have comments or questions that you want us to answer or a topic that you want us to discuss right now, put it in the comments down below. We will address every single one, not including the really offensive ones that we occasionally come across. This is a good question, actually. I saw it earlier today. This is from McConnell Lamar, who won the Whiplash, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Who do you think are the best 4 figures to sideline for Composite Superman, and how would you play him competitively in a 300-point Modern Age? As far as competitively, he's probably going to be a 100-point figure on a monster team, because that definitely stood out as one of the keywords. I think it's one of his only keywords. I don't have it in front of me right now.
It's just monster.
Just monster. Okay, so yeah, it's going to be a monster team. Not to say like there's any question about how good the monster team already is as a keyword. Now, the build itself, I don't know what I'd come up with. Might have a Lydia Maller, might have a zombie. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, the Lydia seems like a fairly clear choice.
And then I build around. Yeah, and then I'd start building around that. As far as the character I would use on the sideline, a couple of them really stand out as far as Legion of Superheroes characters. Mon-El is one that stands out for me. As well as who's the other one? I have to give Edward Sheldon on the Quarry a little bit of credit on this because he mentioned it, and I went, "Oh yeah, he has that keyword, Computo." I didn't even think of Computo because outside of that first click, which is terrible on Computo, every other click that he has a ton of powers that are really amazing, and they include. Now I got to double check something before I start swooning too much about it. Do you know if Composite Superman only copies standard powers, or is it all powers?
It's all powers.
Is it all powers?
Yeah.
Which would make them bloody amazing.
Yeah, it's powers and combat abilities.
So all of a sudden you have a giant. And, everybody says giant makes you a big target, but never forget giant also lets you see over things. And helps your line of fire a lot. So for all the line of fire they gain, you gain some. He's also indomitable. So a giant and indomitable. And then on I believe it's 6 clicks possible to use on this guy. You got a selection of powers that includes and this is starting with just the standard powers: charge, invincible, outwit, perplex, and poison and plasticity, intermittent, and some flurry and regeneration as well, intermittent out there. But he's also got a special attack power which he has on 3 of his clicks, numbers 2, 3, and 4, that gives him flurry, precision strike, and quick.
Yep.
So at initial glance, Computo is not much of a character, but on the sideline, pumping up a Composite Superman, holy hell.
Yep. I would use XS as well for the hypersonic speed, as well as the carry ability, and then the special carry, rather, the one that allows you to carry things regardless of their speed symbols, as long as they share a keyword with him. So in this case, build a monster team, makes the most sense to me. Also prob, right there. Yep. Pretty awesome.
Yeah. And I got another troll pick to add because XS wasn't necessarily in the Superman Legion Superheroes. And when I say troll pick, I mean I'm being a weirdo.
You are a weirdo. Ron Vidar. Yeah, there you go. I was actually going to talk about him next too.
And I want to point out he's got his attack power, which gives him shape change and stealth. His defense power, which gives him willpower and makes him very difficult to outwit. Now, outwit, as far as everything is concerned with this character, because the character is almost relying 100% on can use versus possesses, maybe not so good. So I might be a little out of my range on this one. But he does have outwit on some of his clicks. He's got late dial probability control, so if you happen to be on that click too, that's equally amazing. The Tornado Twins.
Just because. They do have a good variety of powers, though. Yeah,
they have a ton of variety of powers, and if you happen to roll high, that's a hypersonic on there.
Hypersonic, and the defense is first fields.
I take it all back because I just realized the special damage power relies on having speed tokens, and you don't copy traits. Damn it!
Ah, crap.
Oh, I suck. I'm terrible at this game.
You're just I did like that Mon-El though, the Mon-El Prime. So that was a good idea.
Yeah, Mon-El Prime.
Even. Huh.
How about White Witch?
Well, of course.
You
That's not even a question.
don't even have to bring a green power battery that way.
Yeah.
Go carry on. Sorry.
You could use Black Witch even. She does have a good variety of powers as well.
Yeah.
It's another option.
Yeah, and she's got all of them printed on the dial, which are really good. It's a shame she doesn't have Indomitable to go with it. Does it allow team abilities? I didn't check that. No, it's not.
No, it's combat abilities.
It's
Yeah.
Damn.
There are some combat. There are some powers that give you give you the Legion of Superheroes team ability. But I was thinking Tellus as well. Energy Shield Deflection, Super Senses Toughness.
Yeah,
on that one click right there with Prob. I mean, you can't use his super ability, but
yeah, but he's
kind of
still.
cool.
I think the only problem is if you roll a 6, you got nothing to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also Superboy.
Well,
Superboy's
yeah.
got a good collection of powers. Running Shot, Energy Explosion, Enhancement, Invincible's in there, Impervious is in there. A special hypersonic that also gives him Force Blast, but he can only use it with close combat attacks. Darn.
Oh, shoot.
Yep.
An amazing ability. Crap.
Yeah. When you actually start thinking about some of these guys, here's a good one. Wildfire. If you happen to roll a 4,
Wildfire's are really good overall.
Yeah, if you happen to roll a 4 with Wildfire and you're in danger, he becomes very difficult to injure. He has all his stats still, unlike the actual dialed Wildfire, which comes with poison. And he's got his awesome regeneration, which you can use as a free action. And even if the free action is -3, and then you can use as a power action with a minimum result of 1.
I think I found the best one. I think it's Phantom Girl.
Which Phantom Girl?
Phantom Girl goes
Girl
through crap, causes all kinds of mayhem.
Main set one, right? Yeah, and that can really disrupt some resources.
Yeah.
And she's got 2 rollouts if you happen to roll a 1.
Exactly. So good.
Yeah. So yes, the Composite Superman has a lot of options. He's competitive worthy. You do have to kind of build with him in mind. You have to. It's tricky because you have so many variations of the build, and you have to count on every kind of terrible and good dice roll as far as what your characters are going to be giving you. It sometimes becomes a dangerous ground. I haven't been switching camera. I apologize. I've had characters in front of my face. It's incredibly difficult to pick the right ones, and it becomes risky to pick ones that have less than that don't have a value on click 6. Because if they have a KO click, then you can't tap that character's ability, and you're gonna have to use a power action eventually to move that somewhere.
Yep.
So yeah, thanks McCall for that question. It's a great question. He's usable. He's very difficult to use, but if you can pull him off, it's totally worth it. It's just going to take a little bit of work in selecting your figures. So we've given you some of the best, and we added Computo because I believe we've had this discussion before, but now we get to look at it a little bit more in depth. So the next question, Matt Grikunos, I believe. I apologize if I've messed up any pronunciations. Any idea when we'll get the erratas? We were hoping it would be today.
It'll probably be next Monday, or then maybe the Monday after that, or the Monday after that.
I'm almost sure of the next 2 weeks because it's usually about a month they work on this. So 4 weeks it takes them to do this. We'll see. Chris Stockhouse asks, do you think enough people are playing swarm teams competitively that a 300-point Martian Manhunter could do well in a competitive setting? It's difficult to say. I'm gonna lead in, and I'll let Mike jump in after this. Martian Manhunter is risky even with those swarm teams because those swarm teams are mitigating the fact that they only have 3 actions already. They'll have ways around it, free actions to work with, tons of things to kind of deal with that. And then if one of them happens to pump everything into a single attack, you could really take a lot of damage on Martian Manhunter at 300. Now, that said, I do have another opinion. So as far as the current modern full-blown game meta, he's tricky. He could work, but he could you really have to play the heck out of it, be patient, and the swarm isn't necessarily going to be specifically what you stop. Mike, thoughts?
No.
Just no.
No, there's one scenario, and it's really a roll of the dice, not to be too tongue in cheek about it. But it would depend highly on your matchups. So if you got a bunch of matchups that favor Martian Manhunter, then yes, you'd do great. But honestly, I don't think it's strong enough to make it through. In fact, he's one of the guys that we tend to beta test with at the beginning of team building with some of the guys that I play with. And so we were like, if you can't beat him, then you can't play this team. So
he needs the new team base.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Play against him, and then play against the Mutants team base. And if you can't beat those two, then you're just not playing that team. It's a very powerful piece, incredible and sealed, incredible, like insta win pretty much, or guaranteed win. But yeah, no, I would not suggest using that in an actual meta setting. Unless it's just like your local store playing meta, because you're playing meta because you want to.
Mm-hmm. No. I'm just going to remind everybody, we have a few more viewers right now. If you have any topics or questions that you want us to cover, put them in the comments now, because we're actually running out of questions. But to further the discussion about Martian Manhunter, before I talk about another part that I want to with, he's as far as the swarm teams, I don't know if you heard earlier in the show, the swarm teams are using the red battery. And the red battery gives you a ton of free actions to poison, penetrating poison nonetheless. I don't know if the Martian Manhunter has necessarily a single click that has invincible. I'd have to double check him. I'm pulling him up right now. I haven't personally memorized his dial. I haven't actually played tested as much as Mike has against it. And he has two clicks with invincible. One with an 18 defense, one with a 17 defense. Because he's a 300-point character and you're not doing much towards dropping his values, a lot of these animal teams have abilities to make attacks still in the beginning of the turn. So you could potentially see something happen at the beginning of the turn that's just going to get you past that invincible, and then the poison continues. And
and he's outwittable. I mean, you can outwit the crap out of that if you really want to.
Yeah. You can go poison, you're on invincible, outwit, invincible, poison, outwitted, poison, right?
Yeah.
And this is like you got one character. Your next turn you have to run, and you have to run using phasing, and you don't get to attack after phasing. And again, the animal teams they'll just be there, and then you're probably double token at this point because they're going to either base you when you have one token or base you when you have two tokens, and it's already a nightmare scenario for that team. So yeah, I wouldn't personally suggest the Martian Manhunter in the current meta. There will be teams you can win against, but it's not a sure thing by any against very many matchups at all. To be 100% honest. Now that said, I do want to talk about the other thing that's going to be coming up after October, and that's going to be the no tactics meta, which I'm already actually starting to think about.
Yeah, I've already started thinking about it too.
Yeah. And that's where actually that Martian Manhunter is at his strongest, because one of the things about the no tactics format is because you don't have resources, a lot of things come from resources that are free action ads or whatever. And that's like the Phoenix Force, which gives poison, the red battery, which gives poison, a whole bunch of bonuses that the Martian Manhunter just doesn't want to have to deal with. And I've played against the Martian Manhunter in a no tactics format. And it was the fact that the team I was using was ready for a whole ton of options. It was a Freddie Freeman with 2 Star Labs technicians and Blind Al and Johnny Quick. So basically my idea when it came to playing against the Martian Manhunter, it was you have precision strike now, go hit him as hard as you can. So
well, he doesn't stand up well against Zombie Super Skrull teams, and when we see no tactics come back, you will definitely see him.
Yeah.
As well as Kyle Rayner, he'll be out there as well. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to see some Ragnarok as well, which would probably tear a nice hole in Martian Manhunter as well. Even though he doesn't have like an instant way to get through, just his high stats will probably wreck him.
Well, I mean, you can include Justin Seyfert because he's still gonna have the robot team.
Absolutely.
Not gonna be a thing that you worry about anyway.
There's keywords still.
And he gets full movement and then attack, and then he can still running shot. That is going to be a team to reckon with in No Tactics.
You're supposed to be quiet now because that's my team.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Well, guess what, Mike? Go back to Kyle Rayner. You're good with him.
Yeah, all right. That's what I'll base my whole career on, and I'll retire when he retires.
Oh man. Just, you know what? Keep your girlfriend away from the refrigerator. You'll be fine. Shots fired. So... I'm a one-trick pony with the Kyle Rayner and his girlfriend in the refrigerator joke.
Yeah, that's all right.
I think I've told that joke at least a dozen times.
You told that joke to me 3 times.
Told you that joke 3 times?
Yeah.
You're lucky.
Yeah, Amber's been around for all of them, including all of the Kyle Rayners, especially in the era where Kyle Rayner and Major Force both existed in the game. That was a good solid year of that. Where it was like, I'd call everybody playing. So you playing Kyle Rayner? No. You playing Kyle Rayner? Yes. Bring Major Force. I don't machine is one of my objects because it's the closest thing to a refrigerator, and then I just hold it looking at them.
Yeah, I'll do a repaint of that dumpster. Make it into like a 1940s fridge.
Yeah. That's.
Do you have any of the extra of the old objects? I don't have any 3-dimensional.
I have the old 3D objects. Yes, I actually.
I want some 3D objects.
I had to work to get those, so no.
Okay.
They're mine.
Fair enough. I had to try. Come on.
Yeah. I traded out my butt to get them too. I desperately wanted them because I remember playing with them, and then I remember back in the day, WizKids on their website, the Heroclix website, used to actually have battle reports of games that they just played at the office.
Yeah.
And in one of them, they took that they had a Streetlight. Streetlight was one of them,
right?
And it's like a rubber.
Yeah, it's like this.
Yeah, and you can bend it. And they had the Hercules whose fists were out like this in his pose, and they bent it and put it in between Hercules' hands. I was like, that is the greatest picture ever taken.
That's awesome.
And that Hercules also used to be one of my favorite characters because he was really dirt cheap and did a lot of damage. Memories of the old game. If you don't, you guys can actually just don't forget to ask your questions down below. I'm not pointing at my penis.
He's not pointing at his penis. He's pointing.
I'd have to be pointing somewhere over here.
Oh, so appropriate. I can't wait to see some No Tactics with like Hawkeye from the movie set, the Avengers Age of Ultron movie set. Just some lower point characters that just haven't really made it in terms of tactics stuff because they have crazy high attack to begin with, really interesting, versatile, work well with others that at least have similar keywords. Yeah, it'd be really cool to see some more variety in that respect because even though we have a lot of different things, I think we played enough meta level stuff over the last like month and a half that we're not seeing a whole lot of repetition. I mean, we're not seeing a whole lot of repetition. We're seeing a lot of the same stuff, even though it is a much broader field than it was the previous year at Nationals, for instance. It'd be really cool, though, to get into that. I think what I'm saying is I'm getting a little bit tired of tactics from now.
It's time for the shift?
Well, it's neat too. I find the no tactics is more inclusive for some people because I know there's some players who love no tactics because it is a little bit simpler. It's a simpler time, simpler rules, a little bit more relaxed. You don't have to remember nearly as many beginning of turn things.
Yeah.
You can flow through the game a lot easier. What?
I said, unless your name is Jason, because I'm notorious for all of the free actions at the beginning of the turn. My beginning of the turn is almost as long as some people's full turns, to be brutally honest. And that's, like, I'm not a staller or I'm not slow about doing it. It's just I have 1,000 free actions. Give me a second to deal with this. And then I'll take my turn, which will also be quick because I've been planning it during your turn.
Yeah.
And that said, I want to change the thinking. I'm really looking forward to the no tactics because I've already looked at a couple characters and went, I'm going to try you in no tactics and see how you work. One of which is the no. I'll get outright and say it. The Con Loki is just begging for me to bring him out in no tactics. There's a couple figures he's going to have a hard time with, but One of the aspects that makes him great in that format is that because of his trait where you can't draw a line of fire to him if you're 150 points or less, I believe it is, or less than 150 points. One of the two. I'll have to double check that.
It's right here. I've got it. It's Loki can use shape change and sidestep lines of fire can't be drawn to Loki by opposing characters 150 points or less. If Loki has one or fewer
and one of the
tokens.
Yeah, one of the things about the no tactics format is a lot of points are spent on very small figures in order to make mediocre figures great. It's the form of resource. It's the pit crew, if you will, to make them great. And one of the things that's important about that is Banshee is very strong in that format. So now Banshee can't draw a line of fire to him. He'll still have problems with Kyle Rayner and the Zombie Super Skrull, but everybody has problems with those two characters. Let's be brutally honest, right? Another thing to think about too is, are they going to allow ID cards through the ROC for the no tactics format? They've already stopped entities cold. They're just not a thing that are allowed in the no tactics format.
But I think of ID cards more in the light of the word bubbles and the constructs, which were allowed because they were not tactics.
Well, now here's the thing, and I think I've said this before. The reason they let the constructs through and I'm speculating. If somebody who works for the ROC board is watching, please let me know if I'm wrong. The constructs and the word bubbles are very specific to a select number of characters. You can count on two hands the combination of both that can be put on a single team. And, you got Headpool, Dogpool, Deadpool, Lady Deadpool, Thorpool that can get the word bubbles, right? And then the characters that can bring in the constructs, Absurd, Kyle Rayner, it's a little bit more. It's going to take a couple of hands to do it. But you can do it with your hands and toes, the number of characters that can bring in the constructs. Now, as far as the ID card is concerned, there is no restriction as far as what's going to be allowed in. So they may, kind of like what they do with the entities, and I'm just, again, speculating out my butt. They may just turn around and say, you know what, these ID cards are allowed on anything. They're kind of like resources. No, we're just not going to allow them.
Yeah.
They're not game breaking, don't get me wrong. And then sometimes the no tactics format of 5 points is just all that matters, right? Especially, in a field where gluttony is allowed to exist, right? So,
I think that Black Panther is going to be big too in no tactics.
Yes, the Black Panther is going to be a thing reckoned with because he can just hug walls, right? Or hug blocking terrain.
Yeah, pretty much. Ranks.
Yep.
Ranks map.
Yep. Ranks is his best friend. He'll move around Ranks like a professional. And he'd have fun in that map. All right, we're getting some more questions in the YouTube channel, which is great. Keep them coming down below, guys. We wanna help you guys get involved. So the first one we have here, Agent 13 with shield keywords, no tactics. Yeah. Sorry, that was less of a question and more of a statement. I just kind of went with what was there. Yes, Agent 13 in no tactics is another force to be reckoned with, to say the least. Sean Rivera asks, out of all the ID cards that have been released or previewed from Avengers Assembled, Nick Fury, and the cons, what are your 6 favorite for the round table?
Agent 13 only works if it's part of a theme team, and there are no theme teams.
Oh, yeah, that's not going to do you any good in no tactics.
Yeah.
Because theme teams are part of the tactics rules in the rulebook. Some of our fans may not understand. When they say a no tactics format, if you open your rulebook, I can't remember the exact page. I think I have a rulebook handy here. Anyway, towards the back of the rulebook, there's a section titled Tactics. It's actually a full chapter of the rulebook. Anything listed under there is not allowed. And that includes bystanders, theme teams, resources, relics, special objects, horde tokens, epic actions. Not even a thing. Epic actions require.
That doesn't matter anyway.
Is that everything? Yeah, that's everything.
Team.
Yeah, I mentioned theme teams.
Yeah.
So no tactics is a format where you don't care about the theme team and they don't exist. Period. So anything that relies on a theme team, I didn't even know Agent 13 relied on a theme team. So that's why I kind of said.
Yeah. It says if Agent 13 is part of a theme team during your first turn, choose a keyword. Blah blah blah.
And that's one of the hard parts about the no tactic format is you want to build a theme team with a lot of keywords and there's some abilities that specifically require a theme team. Those characters those abilities are worthless in that format. There's characters that make bystander tokens. They don't. You're not part of your build. You make bystander tokens. Not allowed. Doesn't matter. There's characters that make relics. Bad news. Emerald Empress is practically worthless in the format, and it happens. It's an unfortunate fact that the game went one way, and the ROC says we're running a tournament like this, and as a result, certain characters because of this just aren't going to work in it. But it does. It creates a different format and a different way to play the game. But what ends up happening is the character reigns supreme in the no tactics format versus the resource reigning supreme. And that's you get two different metagames as a result of it.
Yep.
One of which is more character based, and what you'll see is a lot of the time a character with a variation of friends around him for different versions. So you'll see a lot of different variations of, say, the Zombie Super Skrull in the current metagame, or a lot of variations with the Kyle Rayner in the current metagame. So yeah, unfortunately, 1813, though she would be great. Because of her keyword restriction, would not work in the format. So anyway, out of all the ID cards that have been released, previewed, so yeah, the question, what are your 6 favorite ID cards, Mike?
Me?
Yeah, we'll start with you, unless you don't have 6 off the top of your head.
I can't think of any off the top of my head right now. I mean, I like Machine Man. I like Jocasta just because it brings her out. She's awesome. The Iron Man ID card is really, really good. I can't wait for the Captain America card. Yeah, that's really the bee's knees. That's 3.
Charleston. Was that?
That's 3 for me so far.
Yep.
Why don't you give us some of yours, because you've been playing a little more with it.
So the 4 giveaways: Thor, Hulk, Iron Man, and Captain America. I think those definitely 4 stand out as really good. Now I'm going to say 2 of them as one of them because they're great in conjunction with each other, and that is Jessica Jones and Machine Man, as he mentioned, because they both stop 2 of the most annoying powers in the game. Next to Ultimate. And then number 6 is Triathlon, because he's done me so well lately. He's a fantastic addition to a lot of teams.
Triathlon is my number 4 for sure. Yeah, it's so good, so versatile, and just so cheap to get that guy in there doing his flurry. Mm-hmm. There's also I just had it in my noggin. The Hank Pym card too is really good. Yeah, a lot of different Hank Pyms you can bring out. Lots of options. Lots of different things you can try out. And his inspiration, I can't remember off the top of my head. I think
makes +3 defense for robots and +3 range for
Outwit or Perplex.
Yeah,
exactly. So that's very useful. I mean, it's especially useful in the OP set that we're working through right now with the robot keyword. And what would the last one be? Spider-Man, because I love Spider-Man.
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 That's enough of that.
Swip, swip. Can I catch you in my webs?
Get you in my webs.
All right, I'm going to do a quick last call for questions before we wrap this up. So you guys have, I'm going to give you 5 more minutes for questions while we banter about continuing on with our no tactics format discussions. Now, do you think there's going to be any kind of presence for the hard to kill teams? The
one at a time.
Dupe.
The step-by-steppers?
Yeah, the step-by-steppers. Now, I can say Gluttony might because of his stop you from healing thing, which is really rough on a super.
Yeah, I would say you probably will see him in particular. I don't think you're going to see Dupe. I don't think he's good enough unaltered, essentially, to put him in there. Step at a time. Well, Arcade. I mean, Arcade.
Yeah.
Because he's a monster.
Yeah, and that the beauty of the Arcade is that his ability doesn't rely on an orange rule for a map, which is rough on ROC maps. It's his ability that makes him amazing on the Arcade map. Yeah,
exactly. You take him to Murder World, and it's murder for them for sure.
Welcome to Murder World.
I'm wondering, would I guess the She-Hulk thing would still work. Some Arcade She-Hulk together would be good, because if he gets to re-roll that, she's really good. She is actually really good. Yep. Play her at 75 points, you're gold. Like, seriously, she's not worth. I don't think she's quite worth 130. You only get 2 extra clicks for that, and the top click values are exactly the same. It just gives you invincible instead of impervious, or is it invulnerable or impervious? It's I think it's
right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Come on. She was a uncommon, right? Yeah, there she is. So, oh, damn it. Yeah, it's invincible on the first 2, and then the third click, which is where she starts the 75-point line, it is impervious.
Right. Yeah. I mean, have you seen any other 75-point figures that give you flurry plus super strength plus, you know what I mean? Like, that's just really solid overall, especially when you're
flurry strength.
Yeah, exactly. It's just so good.
Yeah.
She does go down if she's targeted, but everybody does. I mean, that's the reality. I've used her just as a meat shield in certain scenarios, and she's still very, very good. I'm a big fan of that piece. I've used her several times now. I think we may see Spider-Man, the black suit Spider-Man, just because his defense is so high for the format. I'm big on that right now too. It's really stuck in my head. Black suit Spider-Man. So back to the one at a time. So that's why Arcade came to mind, because Arcade is a one at a time, one click at a time character that is a complete monster if he wins map roll. Beyond that, I don't think we'll see much of Bizarro, to be perfectly frank. I mean, we may see the 25-point or 50-point, just because
25-point Bizarro is still relevant.
Yeah, but it's just, you got to hit him once.
Yeah.
And then he's 50 points. Like, I personally hazard, like, I stay away from that just because I don't want you to have that advantage early on in Turtle. That's just my personal feeling on it anyway.
I do have to say, Despotella still relevant in that format as well, because that 20 defense and poison is just obnoxious to deal with. And you have a whole slew of high movement characters to carry him with now.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, like that Lockjaw at 25 points. Holy smokes!
Expect to see him. Crap balls!
That's the thing. For those of you who remember the format, the last No Tactics format was one of the most popular figures to play on your team was the Bat Cycle for the sole purpose of Smoke Cloud and carrying. So Lockjaw does the carrying, and he's got a slightly deeper dial with 6 clicks. So there's some potency going on there.
Deeper dial, do you?
What's that?
Nothing.
What'd you call me?
What'd you say? What'd you say about me?
What you talking about, Willis?
Oh my God, Gary Coleman over here.
Yeah.
I put together like this little scientist team here just for fun. Black Panther and Spider-Man, and they're both black. Love it. Semi-thematic. Not the theme matters.
Yeah, No Tactics. It just does. What's the theme?
What's the theme? Any other questions?
Yeah, we actually had a couple get added.
Awesome.
Yeah, so they heard us this time. Chris Stockhouse adds that the Composite Superman computer tech is also to hope on getting the first click, which has you only take 1 damage at a time, which, that's also a thing, but it does also give you Earthbound, which is a dangerous power to have. So you don't gain that giant and indomitable. But click 1 is not a bad one to be on. There's no bad click to be on with Computo. You are correct.
Computer was a great thing to pull in sealed during Slosh.
Yeah. Next, Matthew Hoover. If you bring Jarvis in through his card, can you use him to call? Okay, so this is I think this is a misunderstanding on how Jarvis works. Jarvis works when you're building your team. You get 3 additional ID cards as part of your build. Now, if you use them on the sideline with the ID card, you get no bonus from that, unfortunately. So Jarvis's add ID cards is when you put them as part of your team and you're building, then you get 3 ID cards for free.
It's during the phase where you form the team, which is before the beginning of the game, which would be before the beginning of your first turn. Where at the beginning of your first turn, you could bring him in. So it happens a couple steps before.
His ability happens when you're building your team at home and while you're writing it down at the army sheet.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, that's not quite how it works. It doesn't work in conjunction with the call-in power, which stinks. And then the next question: if you mind control Blue Marvel, would you be able to heal your own characters if you're playing someone with him on their team and not yours? No, because the way mind control works is when you mind control a character, they become friendly to you for an action. Once that action is over, they're not friendly to you anymore. So the first purpose of movement, line of fire, etc. He's friendly to your team, but for all other purposes and intents and purposes, he's once that action is done, he's no longer friendly to you. So you can't pull off a regeneration while he's mind controlled. In that sense. And I believe that
unless he's based, no?
No, because you mind control the character.
Yeah,
mind control is still happening. You have to take an action with that character. The second you're not taking an action with that character, it's back to your opponent.
No, I get that. Yeah, no, I just thought if the one thing. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish.
You could support someone else, but
yeah, you can support, but because the regeneration is giving it to somebody else, you have to complete the action with Blue Marvel first
before the regeneration could take place.
Yeah. Another. Now thinking about mind control, we will miss you, Brother Voodoo.
Yeah, Brodu's gone. See you later.
Brother Voodoo is another one my mystical teams will miss. With a great deal. One last refresh. That is it for questions. We are done for the night.
Cool.
So thank you guys for watching. Mike, thank you very much for joining me. Ontario ROC Provincial Champion Mike Payne, everybody. Round of applause.
This guy. This is sign language for applause.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, so just if anybody's in the neighborhood, come on down on Wednesday to the Wizards Cache. We're having a tournament which is 666 points with a demonic, satanic, or angelic theme, overarching theme. And if you follow that entirely, you just have to have at least one character on it. But if you follow that entirely, all of your characters fit into that, you'll get one additional use of theme team probability control. So come on down. It's free. 6:45.
If not for the copyright rules on YouTube, I would have immediately started playing Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden while you were talking about it. I was so desperately tempted to do it, and I was just like, don't do it. Don't do it.
No,
don't do it. It would be awesome.
You're awesome.
I'm amazing. What can I say? No, I'm probably the worst person in the world.
No, you're not.
There's like one or two people who've met me in person and probably want to kill me.
Your self-esteem is showing.
That said, again, thank you guys for joining us. And don't forget, hop over to HC Realms, click the shop button. And if you're interested in purchasing some of the t-shirts, some of the maps, some of the cool stuff that they have on that website, use a coupon code MARRIED to support the channel for 10% off of your purchase through the HC Realms website. So once again, thank you, Mike, for joining us. Thank you guys for watching. We're really looking forward to possibly seeing a new watch list results.
That would be amazing.
Would be fantastic.
That would be spectacular. I'm just trying to think of like things that go Spider-Man in my head.
And if I don't get a watch list next week, you guys have to suffer through a play-by-play of my 3 rounds of the 600-point Yu-Gi-Oh tournament I'm playing this weekend.
I think you should do it anyway.
All right, fine. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Next week, you get to hear how I did and how I got beat down this weekend.
I will give you a recap of the 666. There you go.
Yeah. And no, I'm talking full play-by-play, like every single round and how it went down and the pains that I'm going to have to deal with.
Yeah, I start playing a video game on my phone when you do that.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
You know, you should try the Tab app because it's amazing.
The Tab app.
I couldn't keep the straight face. I couldn't.
No. Oh, I almost choked.
Oh, we're just carrying on. All right, guys. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody. Take care.